Good evening, Jace.
Good evening, everybody.
What is happening tonight in your world?
Uh, Not a whole lot. I've been busy. I spent my day at work and I spent the rest of my evening writing a report for work.
Fantastic. I'll tell you about my week, or was going to, but I'll pass instead.
Okay,
All right,
sounds good.
moving right along to the panel for today. 90-minute show, by the way. So we are 6 minutes in. We're going to breeze through the intro stuff. We do need to spend a little bit of time on what we have upcoming. And then we will get into all the news and then move it into roundtable so we can get some robust discussion. You must be kind, you must be friendly, and you must not get us deplatformed. So if you do, we will boot you straight out of the roundtable. You can have an opinion, you just can't make it vulgar and or offensive. Rules for roundtable. We'll get into the topics so you guys can be thinking about them for the whole time. No, Pally, I actually just said that when I was talking to Jason in the pre-chat. You technically are in the streets. I have a special, small little caveat on the Pally from the Streets news drop screen. But Jace, we're going to get into Last Week in Legion. We're going to talk about round two. We're going to actually just preview the pods in case you missed it, or if you're interested or haven't joined before. I want to talk a little bit about early action, and the chatter's been fantastic in all the groups. Appreciate that thumbs down. Thank you. If you want to counteract that with thumbs up, you can do that. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. We'll preview the bounty targets. If you missed that, talk about Friday night fights. I don't know who's playing tomorrow, or if we are, or what's happening. We always seem to coordinate, Thursday night at 10:45 p.m. Thank you. Then we're going to thank some folks who have helped us out. Talk about all the new additions to the Christmas giveaway. We are hit. It's going to be awesome. And then we're going to get in, like I said, all the Twitter drops, all the news was like it's a Twitter feed. AMG had just buzzing this week, and then we'll get into roundtable, and that'll be the end of it. So why don't we do this, Jace? Why don't we first open up with let's talk a little bit about our last week in Legion. You can go first.
Yeah, so my last week in Legion was just the last Friday night fights. That's all I've gotten to do. I am not like Shawn. I did not get a game in the league the
Got one in.
day
I'm done.
after
I'm
it
done.
went
One. Yeah.
day after it kicked off.
Yeah.
But
I'm going for the hanging out the most online ever this week with the Tuesday show, the Wednesday game, the Thursday podcast, the Friday podcast. I'm gonna play a game Saturday and gonna go to an event on Sunday. Like that's my this week in Legion. So this is only midweek for me. I'm cresting. So, well, let me talk about my game because I didn't even tell Jace about my game last night. So last night, I played in my pod. My pod is, I completely forget what name I'm in. I'll tell you in 1 second here. Let me just preview there. Oh, yeah. Am I on Alderaan? Is that right? Oh, yeah, I am on
yeah,
Alderaan. That's right. I am on
you're
Alderaan.
on over.
Yeah, so I'm in the Alderaan group. And I played Commander KQ last night. And he and I played and were paired together in the last round. And he and I played first first game last time as well. And so I had a bounty on me in round one, and he claimed the bounty off me. Had a good game. He played a Pelp Bosk Iden list, and I was playing my buses, and it was a close game. It came down to MOV. We played VAPS. Last night, I was playing Blizzard Force, Vader, and you guys know I don't play Force users, like, ever, and I believe this might have been my first game with, like, true, like, actual competitive game with Vader, and he was playing against me with not a Blizzard Force, but a triple bike, Becky, multiple Stormtroopers, Lat Vader. So pretty much a pretty even matchup. I had four speeders. He had three speeder bikes and a lat, so four speeders. Vader, Becky. I had a couple naked snows. He had three naked stormtroopers, and then I had obviously the HRUs. So we ended up getting, and I played blue because I had a big bid, and I played, or basically the turn zero was pretty even. We didn't really care. Either one of us felt pretty confident in what was coming up there. We ended up playing Bombing Run, Rollout, and Hostile. So, getting rid of the suppression with suppression list is tough. So you got to hug that terrain. Obviously, speeder bikes like the rollout, but you don't want to play the bombing run necessarily always on rollout because, of course, you have to deploy in your deployment zone. So I think the only error on his part, like in the early part, was he deployed to the lat outside of the deployment zone and he put Vader in it because he had the TIE pilot. So I get the whole premise. It's the double speed 3, just drop Vader in your lines as quick as possible. But that put his bombs on his 3 speeder bikes, and I obviously put 3 of them on mine. But I went way away from his bikes. He spread out a little bit more than I did. And turn 1 was pretty uneventful. I tried to do a little bit of barrage business. I couldn't get anything through. My opponent actually saved 16 for 21 on his first white dice saves. They were insanely good. I just couldn't drop models. But nonetheless, it was a pretty even first turn. He put a couple wounds on me. I put a couple wounds on him. No harm, no foul. What happened though was he went last and he double moved in his lat with Vader on the inside, and so he was basically 1 speed 2 out from my models. I moved up a little bit, and he was hugging the edge of the board. And when I looked at it, I was like, I feel like he's close to this spire, this like height 1 spire, and the spire was big enough that there was enough room. If I put a model in the middle of it, it would have to move and clamber. To get down. So what I ended up doing, Jace, was turn 2 a Vader might. I moved forward my Vader. I just yeet his Vader out of his lat and put him on top of this spire. And so he ended up having to spend turn 2 doing nothing with his Vader. Turn 3, he had to get it. He kind of was stuck behind his own lat. Turn 3, he got back into his lat with his Vader, so did nothing there. Turn 4, moved with his Vader inside, and then we didn't bother playing. We didn't bother playing past. I think we ended in turn 5. I ended up shooting one of his bikes bombs within range 1 of his deployment zone. I got 2 of mine off. He had nothing left to get his bomb. So I had 2 bombs off. He had 2 bombs off. He couldn't get to his 3rd bomb, and I had the 3rd bomb in the deployment zone already dropped. So he did the concession there, but honestly, being able to make his Vader do nothing from turn 2 on was crazy. He did not know about that. I asked about 4 people before I did it to make sure that it was like a legal move, because again, I wanted to be sure before I'm not versed in Vader in terms of like operational. I know that he does lots of trickery. So felt good. Felt bad for him. He learned that. He does have to face another Blizzard Force. So JD, I gave your secret away. If you were planning on doing that, he's not falling for that trick ever again. So that's one of those lessons we talk about, Jace, where you learn it once hard, and then
never again.
Then you don't have to suffer that wrath again. So. So that was my opening game, but more importantly, I reclaimed the bounty. So I got my bounty point back off him, and I got the 4-point victory last night, which was nice. 1 for the game, 1 for the victory, 2 for the win, and then 1 for the bounty point. So it was a fun one. It was cool to do Vader trickery because I don't usually have anything that has any sort of tricks or shenanigans, but it was it was super fun for me anyway. So but his saves were insane. I could not kill his bikes. My bikes were taking damage at a greater rate, but I was able to keep them just alive long enough. He ended up killing he killed 1 act of mine and took out an HRU, and then at the end of the game he had a Vader, a lat, and 4 stormtroopers left. My bikes kind of hit that critical mass and were able to get through the soft belly stuff. So it was interesting. Yeah, Shawn, you're right. It was a game changer for sure. And it was just probably nothing he saw coming, and it was just a circumstance that allowed me to do that. So it was fun. Jay, so that was my last week in Legion. We're going to get into the season 2 pod previews here, but let's first tell people where to find us on the social medias and how to interact with us.
Yeah, so definitely check out Facebook at Star Wars Legion Friday Night Fights, and then Instagram and Twitter at Legion_FNF, and check out the Patreon at the Terrain Studio.
Yep. I will, just FYI, on the Patreon front, break starts for me on the 21st, so I'll be live in studio several times working on the Hobbit project. I'll be doing some live just stream to the Patreon for all the patrons that are in there, any level, so you guys will all get that. It won't be tier specific. Looking forward to getting like a solid 2 weeks worth of work just straight on that. Big Jace is coming down this weekend. He's just coming down for a day, and then I'm heading back up that way. But we'll certainly be connecting on some pieces. He'll be working on some stuff, probably bringing me back some things, and then taking some more work for that project, which will be super fun. So stay tuned on that. We'll give you guys some updates. We'll give you a couple snippets here, just as nice freebies. So speaking of free, it is free to join the league, but you can't get into the league right now. Season 2, round 2 is already underway. But if you want to come back and see us near the middle to end of January, we'll be ready for round 3, so you guys can jump in at any point there. Here's just a brief recap of the pods. This is my pod here, Alderon. Got Dark Slider, Hugo Biggs, Commander KQ played last night. Myself, JD, me and JD, Rock and Blizzard Force was identical bids, so our group's not going to like playing 2 games basically identical, but that is where we're at. Silent Sword and Tactical Genius. By the way, Bernard is under the weather tonight. I'm not sure if we'll see him in here, but he wanted to give some shouts out, and hopefully he has a speedy recovery. Pod 2 is Bespin. Anthony's in there, Strange Events in there, Eric, Sean Death, GM, and Kokazula. That is the other top pod. And then our 3 lower pods for this round are Canadian Bear, so Graham in there, Anthony, Exambler 2, Debaticus, and Dirty Rogue 13. And then on Geonosis, we have Justice for Life, Bobster, Mr. Witty, Ain't No Poser, and J-Rod's in there. So this is the group to watch. I actually watched Justice and Mr. Witty play last night. Mr. Witty has declared that he is no longer good at Legion, self-proclaimed no longer good at Legion. Justice was loving the Wookiee spam last night. Ryan hasn't played a game, and that may remain expected for 6 weeks. J-Rod's also in there as well. So Geonosis actually took a blood oath against M.
I'm assuming he meant me, but
gotcha.
He can't spell either, so
yeah. Well, he likes to point out those errors. And then on Jakku, we have Exile Bullet. Jace, this is your pod here.
That's my pod.
Nate the Great.
I got the big
007, Exodar, and then Crow Servo. What's going on in your pod? Is there any chatter going on there, Jace? Or
there's a little bit.
Okay.
None of us have played any games yet, though.
I'll get on it, though, guys. What do you guys have, like 2 days so far? Like,
I'm hoping to try to play one on Sunday, but we'll see.
Okay. Apparently, Ryan can't play till the 16th. Apparently.
Poser. So you mean the end of the round?
Yeah, fair enough. This guy. I think I seen all his models on eBay today. Anyway, here's the bounty targets for season 2. Round 2, Commander KQ claimed. You can still get it if you're in my group, but got that one claimed. Silent Sword, Sean Death's got one on him. Hugo Biggs, Bernard's got one. GM Smithers and Kokazula. All of the pod mates are gunning for these guys here, trying to get those extra points off those bounty targets. So if you are interested, you guys can come back and probably watch us again tomorrow if we can convince Anthony to get out for our Friday night fights. Of course, 7:30 CST. Play some good games, play some neat lists, and have a good time doing that. Now you can hear me. We do want to thank our folks who help us out to doing that. Deep Cut Studios for sure for our gaming mats. We also want to thank LegionTerrain.com. Got a little LegionTerrain.com shout out tonight coming up here in a moment. We also want to thank Imperial Terrain for helping us out as well. So all these great companies, donating stuff not only to us but also to you guys. So we want to talk about that and the big Xmas giveaway happening on the 30th Before we get there, let's give the shout out to where shout outs are due. All these folks have helped us out at one time or another via Patreon and or donators to our stream goal. Like I said, we're working up towards that PTZ camera. I want to announce we are actually 34% of the way there, which is fantastic. You guys can definitely continue to help us out. The Train Studio 2019. If you like, gmail.com. If you like what we're doing here and you want to help us out in any way, obviously being here, sharing our content, giving us a thumbs up, all that's great. You guys can support us in other ways as well, and we want to make sure that we're supporting you guys back for your help. Check this out. Here is the giveaways for the 30th at this point. If you guys have not followed or don't know anything about this, this is how easy it is. You don't even have to be a subscriber to the channel, although, you know, that's free and we do appreciate that. But here's the giveaways that we have. I'm giving away a Battle Force myself. I'm giving away 3 sets of the Friday Night Fight deck sleeves, the 2022 variants, the ones for your battle deck. We have 2 months free at the top tier of the Patreon, which is great because the top tier gets you the small perks, so you guys can have a look at that. There won't be any of the full perk tiers, but you will get everything that the Patreon offers at this point, and you'll also get the one of the only custom activation token sets that will be out at this point. The other ones will probably drop around February, so you guys can check that out as well. But one lucky viewer will get a set of those. Back to Basics is giving 14 sets of card sleeves away. They're Star Wars themed. I think Kylo Ren and Luke's. We have about 14 sets of those to give away. Oh, sorry, is the background music too loud for you, Jake? I can turn it down a little bit. There you go. The other things for Back to Basics, we have a Bosk and a Sabine. That should be better for you now, Jake. We have a 6-piece brush set from Back to Basics. Pally News from the Streets. Here is something special for you guys. So he is also giving a Battle Force away. So if you're keeping track, that's now 2. He has also just added, if you win one of the Battle Forces, so there was 5 total to be given away. If you win one of the Battle Forces, Pally will actually throw in a bonus commander for each of the Battle Forces. So, for example, if you win the Blizzard Force Battle Force, comes with Vader as a commander, you'll get the bonus commander for that. And no, it's not General Veers. So he's going to throw that in for each of those sets. What we also have happening from Phoenix Games in Australia, Bryant, our good friend Bryant, 2 Battle Forces coming out of Australia, so thank you very much, Bryant. As well, he's got a Din, a Grogu, an IG-88, and those are going to be just specifically, it's the only specific prize for folks that have contributed to the PTZ camera, which is fantastic. Now, and Pally, I'm just joking with you. 48th Ronin, who is in chat, he has also agreed to donate Commander/Operative. He's giving away 3 of those. They're painted models, so not only get the model, but you also get the painted version. Dragon's Den Games has also given us a Battle Force. I actually have that one physically here in studio, which is great. Imperial Terrain has come on board and has 3 $25 online vouchers for some STL files for you. Dice Time has 9 alt-art cards that we're going to be giving away, and Legion Terrain has come on and graciously given us 3 $50 online store vouchers. I haven't done the math on this, but I do know that it is well over $1,500, which means we break last year's total already. We got some spots on here. We may or may not have a few extra things. I do have some Gamers Grass to add on here. I realized that I was going to do some out of the studio, but I'm going to give credit to Gamers Grass because they do help me out a lot. So all of that stuff, watch the show on the 30th, win free stuff. It'll be shipped to you. No hoops to jump through. Don't let Ryan tell you anything about, you don't have to back anything to be a part of this giveaway. We welcome everyone to be a part of it. Have like 4 people in your house logged on. It does not bother me at all. More viewers, the better. So, yeah, so let's just jump over, Jace, because we got about an hour-ish to get through here. Let's jump over to News from the Streets. By the way, just at the little bottom there, continued to be safe. That's Pally. He's confirmed as safe, which is good, although he is at a Denny's, and so it remains to be seen if he will make it through the night. At least make it through the night without having to visit the washroom.
I was going to say, so yeah, his intestines won't, but maybe the rest of him will.
You just have to back to be on stream. Sometimes I feel like, you you are not paying my utility bills.
Yeah,
I'm
you are
fairly
nowhere near that.
I'm fairly certain that my profession pays for most of my bills here, and this may be the donations here keep the lights on in the studio because there's a lot of them, and it does keep us on the streaming service, which is fantastic. Also, folks, the stuff that we give away, it is free to you, but it's not free to us. So we like to reciprocate a lot of that. So that's exactly where all those donations go, just in case you were wondering. Uncle Sam says Gamers Grass is awesome stuff. I think my basing material from Shadow Collective cost about a third as much as my minis. Absolutely. I love Gamers Grass. I use a lot of it in studio. In fact, my last order was 56 sleeves of grass tufts. So we use a lot of it here for sure. Absolutely, Ryan. I know you're joking. I'm also joking. So who's not joking is Pally with the spicy chicken sandwich. Wow, you just yeah. Anyway, Pally, you know what you just did. you should have known better than the spicy chicken sandwich, but you went that route, and there's no taking it back. So, okay, so let's get into this, Jace. There has been a lot of AMG news this week. We have, I don't know, maybe 15 slides just with AMG stuff on it. So as always, I just go and grab the Twitter feeds. Here's what this one says. We're taking a look at the new mechanics in today's Star Wars Legion rules update preview. Passing, check it out here. So obviously, Jace, we've seen some rules drop. Lots of opinions out there. The internet has opinions. Not sure if you knew that or not. On the topic of spicy chicken sandwich, there's been some spicy takes and some I'd say hot take reactions. Are you seeing any of that in your social media adventures?
Mostly just Ryan. That's it.
Okay, mostly just Ryan. So the answer is yes. So let's jump into some of these, Jace. Just to be clear, if it wasn't clear in the article, and I will read here from the screen, let us be crystal clear. This is not an overhaul of the Legion rules you all know and love. And one more time for safety, this is not an overhaul of the Legion rules you all know and love. So let me read from here. So basically what they have said here, that while creating a fully modernized core rulebook for Legion, we have also had the opportunity to really dig into the previous rules language. As with all rule sets, time and experience are incredible teachers and often expose areas where the rules language fails or is unclear in guiding players to intent of the rules. As excited as we are, to create a core rule book that would make the learning significantly better for new players. We also knew that we had a unique opportunity to really dive in and make sure that all the rules were as clear and consistent as possible in the hopes that improving player recall and memory, leading to less need for players to return to core rulebooks during play. I don't even think, no matter how clear they make it, they're going to eliminate that. I was into the rulebook last night.
Yeah, that's
thing.
not happening.
But that's what a rulebook for, in my opinion. I don't think it's necessarily bad to go in there. In fact, I like to ground logic and explanations with a written rule, so I'm okay with that. So hopefully they don't become like. Hopefully the rulebook still becomes valued and I'd say detailed enough that you can get into that. Additionally, the new core rulebook presented an opportunity to go through and address certain rules that have caused significant confusion or were too vague in the explanation, application, and or timing. So if this is an opportunity and they are going to clear some stuff up, I hope they do. I don't care how it's available. If I have to buy a rulebook, that's okay. If it's a PDF variant, that is also okay by me. Any thoughts on that, Jace? Like, do you care how it comes out? Do you care the format, or?
I'd prefer a PDF.
Update
just because then they can keep doing the changes.
Yep.
Yeah.
I agree. No, I like that. So, and I would hope for frequent updates. And I did like how FFG used to do that, where we'd get the rule book, or we'd get the RRG, you get the new text, the changes, they put them in blue. Then you could go through, quickly glance through. Oh, hey, they've added this, they've changed that, they've tweaked this wording. I like that. I like to go in and then periodically it changes the black text, and then the new version comes out. I did like that. I would like to see that happen, and I'd like to see the rulebook
visited
more frequently than less frequently. So that we have. Now, again, not an overhaul of the rules, and they're going to be the rules we all know and love. I don't know if I mean, it's said twice there for safety, but I've actually felt fairly unsafe sometimes in our Discord chatter because there's some mighty aggressive folks in there, and I'm not sure that
It's just Ryan.
I'm not sure that they
Just
all have this love.
Just a redhead
for the
dwarf
new
named
rules.
Ryan.
So, let's get into the first one here. Line of sight. So this I think you might agree. Anthony certainly would. Just dealing with line of sight and cover is just seems to be problematic.
It's a
now,
pain.
I don't know if we've cleared it up or made it more streamlined, but what they're basically saying here is that line of sight is used to see if one mini can see another miniature. We know that. Player determines line of sight from the perspective of the miniature. Yeah, when you can, I guess, when you can get down there. This is done by creating a cylindrical or cylinder rising from the miniature. That's different than what we used to have as the silhouette, because we have silhouettes now, but they're not really a cylinder. They're kind of a backing board behind the miniature. And now we've seen a lot of suggestive images that sort of make this like cone, or not cone, but this 3D cylinder that rises above the miniatures, kind of like how TTS does the when they pop silhouettes up on there, which is great. We just don't have that physical mechanic. The miniature silhouette includes the miniature's base and the area right above it, to the height of the silhouette. And we'll get into heights of silhouettes here in a second when determining line of sight between two miniatures. If it's an unobstructed straight imaginary line that can be drawn from any part of the miniature silhouette to any part of the miniature silhouette, those miniatures have line of sight. So this is different now, right? We've moved away from that center point or that center dot or that center slit to determining that. So maybe some potential for some areas to explore there as silhouettes become a little less like, it's not point to point really anymore. Now it's kind of any point to any point. So that's interesting. Any thoughts on do you like any aspect of that? Do you think it's going to create any issues? Or
I like that you don't need to find the center point, because the amount of fights that I've seen people have in the game over, but are you actually directly over the center of the base? Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, now it's just, look, my silhouette touches this spot, I can see.
Yeah. So, that I think will speed it up for sure. And I do kind of like the fact that you can kind of go from any part, because here's the thing, as you pointed out, sometimes it's very difficult to find that center point, not because you don't know where the center is, but you can't really necessarily get your eye in line with that, or it's difficult to put a tool down, or the miniatures are obstructed and you're trying not to bump everything else in terms of lining up one shot. So there is potentially some speed added here in terms of that. But here's my thing, Jace. We went through this silhouette conversation before when silhouettes first came out. Oh, it's going to slow the game down. I'm going to have to put a silhouette on the table every time I shoot. It's going to be this, that. Sorry, my Yeti mic's turned on. It's going to be a lot of time-consuming use of the silhouette. And reality is it's not. So no. I don't know if it's going to be a real issue here in terms of needing to put a silhouette up for every shot. But
I mean, that's what everyone thought when silhouettes first came out. Exactly. And I mean, they only come out in specific situations, right? It's like, it's a slight change to silhouettes, not breaking anything.
No, and I don't think I'm going to need a silhouette every time to tell if I can see somebody. It's just not going to happen. Okay, yeah. Speaking of silhouettes, I have 2 points with this. So they have the two silhouettes on here, for sure. That makes sense. But I dislike greatly that the one image is like rotated. I think this created just way too much confusion when they dropped this, and I don't know why it was turned sideways. And maybe I'm missing something, but to me, it just created more confusion than it helped. Thoughts on that, Jace?
Yeah, I agree. It's kind of weird when you're trying to like measure, right? It's also hard to tell, like, the different angles can throw off how tall it actually is compared to the other one. So, but I mean, it's definitely bigger. So like that's a tall mortar team that's on his knees.
Yeah, Pally's saying it's rotated for printing. I mean, couldn't you just print it in another orientation and just cut it? I mean, that's what you're going to do anyway. Like, you can physically rotate things easy enough. I just think that great if you're going to do this for printing, that's fantastic. But give another image with both oriented in the correct direction, and maybe put a miniature in front to clarify all the confusion. Because whatever you want to use as the rationale for how it came out like this, you're not going to convince me or deny the fact that there was a ton of confusion about this exact thing in the orientation. I can show you examples. So I'm just pointing out that I think they could have cleared that up. So yeah, and just anyway, I was just pointing out that it could have been easier when they first released it, specifically because it was a new mention. So I don't really have an issue with the silhouette usage. I never have. What are your thoughts, though, Jace, on mortars being twice as tall now? Speeder bikes being shorter, mortars are twice as tall. Tauntauns are about right. Dewbacks got a little bit maybe shorter in terms of the full stance. A lot of people freaking out about mortars and Mark IIs and such. So, what do you think?
Well, I mean, the thing is, like, if you're taller, it means more things can see you to shoot you too, right? Like,
yeah, and you can also see over things now more, right? Because it's any part of the silhouette. So, yeah.
Yep. You can see over more things, but you can also be shot over more things. It's got both trade-offs, which I think is fine.
Yeah, and I think being able to see and getting shot when we get into cover is maybe going to mean a little less, because I feel like there's going to be a lot of cover in our game coming up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so let's progress, because like I said, I would rather get through. We've seen this, we've talked about it. You know, it's literally hours old at this point, and we've already talked it to death. In all the boards and the the Facebooks of the world. But we'll get through this and we'll get into some discussion, because we'll want to give you guys some time. So unlike trooper units, vehicles do not use silhouette templates when determining line of sight. To determine vehicle silhouette, create a cylinder rising from the vehicle miniature's base all the way to the top of the vehicle's hull. So we're not going to include things like antennas, weapons, crew, all that, etc. I think that was kind of the case in most cases now, because they sort of had those clarifying things along the way. Players should discuss vehicle silhouettes before the game begins. When a unit, and then so that's that piece, and then there's the other piece around when a unit suffers a wound from an attack, if the attacker has line of sight to only some of the miniatures. If the defending unit the defending unit cannot suffer more wounds than the greater total wound threshold for the miniatures that are in line of sight. I think that's okay. But I think coupled with another rule, I think there's going to be several ways to game that pretty heavily, in my opinion. Now, there's some people who are going to counter and say, great, put all your guys behind a building. They can't shoot and do anything. I'm like, great, that's exactly what I want to do with all my models anyway. That's my play style, but maybe it's not everybody's. So I'm all about uninteractive Legion. So there's that. Thoughts on vehicles, Jace? Do you like that you can now basically shoot from any part of the vehicle?
I do, yeah. That's nice. I do like that it has to be, I believe it says over the base, right? Like, yeah. So you can't just shoot out parts that stick out over top of the base now.
Yeah, for sure. It's any part basically, yeah, that within reason, right? So you're not counting the extraneous bits, but I just mean that you're able to kind of look from different points of the vehicles now. So again, putting that same sort of application of the silhouette rule for troopers. So
I think it's fine. It standardizes everything.
Yeah, it does, and I think it maybe speeds some of that stuff up too, because vehicles do become a little bit tricky. So lining up the shot from, it's like, oh, where is it exactly on the AAT that you're shooting from? Oh, it's this coupling here between this section of the gun and that, and that gets a little bit confusing. It's like, oh, where are you shooting from on the lat, and oh, is that, can you see? And yeah, I think it cleans up some of that. So yeah, I mean, like I said, Ryan, I think that shooting from any point in the model, it speeds things up, but it has its own issues for sure. So determining number of obscured minis, thoughts on this here, Jace? Like, the attacking player checks line of sight from any part of the attacking unit's leader's silhouette to each miniature in the defending unit. If line of sight to any part of the defending miniature silhouette is blocked by terrain other than the terrain in base contact with the attacker, the unit leader, and the part of the silhouette is still visible, the defending miniature is obscured. And we're talking about the most minute of obscuring here. So
yeah, it's nice because like it basically takes the rule that was already in the game, where if any part of the model was obscured, if that in your pre-game covered half the model, it had cover. But now you don't have to do that pre-game part. You just have to do the check in the game, which is so much simpler.
Yep. Yeah, Shawn, that's not wrong. I can run double gav because it is technically shorter. Yeah. Basically, the crew member on the gav tank made it like twice as tall as it actually is. So you're not wrong there. So the problem is, though, if you run that E-web on the back, isn't that like now it's like 3 times taller with the silhouette on the E-web. So yeah, there's trade-offs, I guess. So determining cover, I'm not going to get into that, but cover is, it's fairly straightforward. I don't think there's many changes here, but I do think that cover itself is just going to be more prevalent. So talking about the new rule book, we already got into that, so I'm not going to worry too much about that. Let's get into a couple other things, couple previews, and then we'll get solid time here for Roundtable. Jace, here's the one right here that I have seen lots of people go crazy. Jace is cheering. I don't think it's an issue. I think it's quite fine. Again, as a person who likes to play passive Legion, I do like that there's a pass mechanic. Is it going to be able to be gamed? Maybe in some respects, but I think there's going to be equal game to be had on both sides. I already feel like there's kind of some ways to game this. Is it going to hurt high activation players? I don't know. Not that much, to be honest. I mean, you can still kill activations, and that's a way to get an advantage in the game too. So, but basically, let me get into this here. So the active player chooses either to activate a friendly unit with a face-up order token, so tokens you already have on the table, or to draw an order token randomly from your order pool and activate a unit matching the order token's rank. That's how we play Legion right now. If a player draws an order token with a rank that does not have a corresponding unit on the battlefield, remove that token from the game and randomly draw another order token from the order pool. Alternatively, a player may be able to pass. The pass mechanic, importantly to note here, that you must have fewer activations available either face up or in your pool or on your cards than your opponent. If you're tied, you can't do it. And so, it's been pointed out by several people that if Jace has, more activations than me, and he goes first, let's say 10, and I have 9, Jace goes first. Well, he now only has 9 available, and I have 9 to start. So I'm going, and he has 9, and I was starting less than him, but we're even at that point, so I can't pass there.
Yep.
So it's not as I think because they put the governing mechanism on here once per round, which I think is the best part of this. I'm glad that they did that, because if they didn't, it would have been crazy. But once per round, I think is reasonable, because I don't even think that's going to proc every single round either. It may, because maybe there's some manipulation of things that do happen within the turn. But more often than not, you're probably not going to find this getting too out of whack. That's my early prediction. We'll see how it goes. It's not game changing. It's not game breaking for me. In fact, I think it adds a little bit of interest to the game, and I think it gives players, who are suffering from maybe activation disparity, a chance to catch that up a little bit. And I think it'll be interesting. I think there will be some strategy within the utilization of that as well, which some players will probably figure out great ways to exploit that. But that information gets around pretty soon, and then suddenly everyone's privy to that. So I'm interested to see how people use this in terms of the timing, and how people are. I feel like this might be something that might want to go early in a turn with. Not try to game the end of the turn, but kind of go early.
And not even early in the turn, like early in the turn, but also the early rounds is the ones where this kind of matters a little bit more.
Yep, it definitely.
Because usually once you're getting near the end, you're kind of wanting those high priority, or those quick priorities to go.
I could see a couple situations where maybe like trying to scoot on to some objective or into a deployment zone late might be good. I can see maybe in bombing run where you basically have to detonate at the end, and so you don't want somebody to pick up. So maybe there's some sort of delay that you might use there. You can't really game the end of the turn. Yeah, not so much game the end. Well, it depends, I guess, Pally, because you could get. Maybe you can't so much, because destroyed units will still sort of count, and I guess it's I think there is ways to actually do a little bit of work around that, but um, I'll have to kind of think specifically, more specifically of great examples where you could do that. But if you have a disparity in a turn and you maintain that disparity throughout the turn, I think you can still do it at the end of the round. So, um, but depending on what happens through the course of the game, there might be opportunities, the less and less opportunities, I think, maybe to use the pass mechanic potentially. So, but yeah, I'm okay. Uh, Yeah, no, I'm not talking about using it to get last act. I'm talking about, yeah, I'm not talking about trying to like double last act or anything like that. I'm talking about having a delay within the turn itself to give you a little bit of breathing room. So not to like double last act or anything like that. So, but I think I like it. I think it introduces a new complexity to the game. I get that maybe it's not great for people who are pressing that act advantage or were using that as sort of their approach to the game. But I do like the introduction of the pass mechanic myself.
Yep. I like it. I think it makes Jedi lists a lot better. And something that's situational. I mean, Shawn Des said here 2 games played with the new pass rules, 0 passes done. Like
Yeah,
it's not
yeah,
going to happen every game.
yeah. That's exactly it. I think it's going to be more situational, and I think it's going to be more strategic in its use. I don't think it's going to be I don't think it's going to be a regular thing where players are just like, yep, okay, I'm going to pass every single round because the windows within Legion change in the game. I don't think there's anything that's like automatically I'm going to be passing with this army every single round that I can. Because every situation is going to unfold differently. As you pointed out, some objectives you want to kind of go maybe quicker. Some objectives you may want to have that sort of that delay if you can. So let's get into
Yeah.
a few other of the releases here. Dark Troopers are out. They look awesome. Moff Gideon, maybe a little something
Yes.
desired. I'm not really a fan of the face
The
sculpt,
the faces. Yeah.
but whatever. It is what it is. But the Dark Troopers look really, really good. I like them a lot.
Oh yeah.
Looking forward to them. A couple things I want to bring up. $55 priced as a heavy. Do you feel like that's hurting you Jace? Like, are you sore
I
about
mean,
that?
a little bit. The nice thing is you only need like 2 boxes of them.
Yeah.
But that is a little bit expensive considering it's just like a 7 model trooper unit.
Yeah, people are talking about sculpt size, et cetera, et cetera. It is a heavy and it's priced at a heavy unit. I mean, that feels like you're trying to pull a little wool over my eyes to use that justification personally. Like to me it's another trooper box set. Not necessarily in the definition of the unit identification. But it's not a vehicle. Like this isn't a lat and it's not a saber tank.
Exactly.
So that's just mine on it. It's a minor detail. It's moot. I'll buy 2 anyway, so it doesn't really matter. It's just
Same here.
It's just kind of that gripe as I stand in line to pay for my models like everybody else. So,
Yep.
but yeah, there's some people picking up on the face sculpt here, but whatever. I'm looking forward to them. I think the mechanics of going twice in a turn potentially really good. The ability to like sort of come in and maybe disappear and teleport on the board, awesome. Armor on a basically a trooper model that counts as a heavy is cool. Maybe a unit with plotting that's not going to suck. So
The double activations is so cool.
it is. So I do think that I'm going to look forward to playing with Dark Troopers and trying to make them work. So, and the sculpts are great too. So lots of people excited about the cricket bat. Boba, the Rebel Boba, out tomorrow for us to purchase. So mine is in store, set aside along with my X-wing and also the Battle Force that I'm donating. So we'll be picking that up on Sunday. But thoughts on Boba? You said you're pretty excited for Boba. There's the card, by the way. So Jace has been playing some Empire Boba. You have
I have
not played. We haven't even proxied. I don't think a Rebel Boba. Did Anthony play Rebel Boba in one game? No, I don't think so. We
played Empire Boba.
Yeah, just using the Boba cards. But let me jump over here because you've used these. Give us kind of an overview, Jace. Which one is your favorite of the pips here?
My favorite.
A lot of people loving Boba's 3 pip.
That probably is my favorite. Like, man, because I when I've played him, I played him in Empire, right?
Mm-hmm.
3 black dice sniper rifles are just insane.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, missing with 3 black dice is just feels
It's
really,
great,
really, yeah, it's
right?
really great.
It feels like I'm
Yeah.
playing Empire.
Yep, exactly. It's better Empire. They miss on 3 dice now. No, but for sure, right? Like, and it's for the duration, right? While he's a face up order
As long,
token. Yeah, it's
yeah,
just like so the duration of that time, all those shots. Brian was talking about last night playing some Rebel Boba sorry, playing. I think he was playing. Yeah, I think he was playing Rebel Boba and talking about the Mando rockets and just alpha striking, similar to you doing with the Shadow Collective, alpha striking with those rockets, with Boba's card helping out. Just to all those blast shots going in with extra dice feels really good, I'm sure. So maybe not on the receiving end, but yeah. Have you had
yeah. It's a fun card.
any feelings about the other ones? The 2-pip, the 1-pip?
I like the two. The 2-pip's pretty good. I never expected to do a lot of damage. I mean, I played it against you, and I think I killed a pike.
Yeah, it was not the best attack, but I think there is places. Anytime you play a card that says you don't attack and then you have an attack at the end, I almost feel like there's a heavier reliance on finding success with that attack, and when you don't get that off, you almost feel like, oh man, giving up my attack cost me. But the reality is you don't.
Especially since his attacks have Pierce,
right,
and you miss out on Pierce on this card.
You do. But I think the blast on this is quite a nice trade off, for sure. So yeah, the 1-pip to me leaves a little something to be desired. It seems like
the 1-pip's the one I really don't care about. The speed 1 move is nice if you need to get range to an objective.
Yeah.
Marksman, I really don't ever feel like I need on him.
Yeah.
Mostly because he's rolling black dice. So if he misses, he's probably missed with 2, and I want to reroll more than 1 and just change 1.
Yeah, I think that one can be, it's even a 1 unit, right? It's not even a Boba specific card here, so it feels much more situational. But the other two really give the flavor of Boba here. So I do love how they've really captured the dad bod Boba in these arts too, right? Like you can physically tell the difference in size between Mando and Boba here, and Fennec Shan there in the back, I think is who it is. Or is it? Yeah, I think that is it. Yeah.
Yep, that's Fennec.
That's cool. All right, let's have a couple more looks here. They had this sort of like moving display here on the Twitter, which is kind of cool. I kind of did like that one as well, giving a nice 360 rotation. Obviously, this is a static image, but again, reminder, comes out on the 16th, so get your Bobas if you're looking for that. And then a couple more art pieces shared. This one was way too big to fit in a single image, but we got a nice shot of the X-wing, and I think
we got a nice shot of green grass on Hoth.
Yeah, probably shouldn't have done that, but whatever. We'll overlook that. That was immediately where I went, but I was trying to be a glass half full kind of guy.
That's fair.
because I really think that this X-wing is the X-wing that they should have used on the stream. I love the paint scheme on it. I love that it's buried in the ice. I think it gives a real good flavor, and I think I'm more impressed with the size of the model now that I get to see it with a bunch of bases in front of it. So it looks to be pretty substantial. The other pieces, I'm not 100% sure how big they are. They kind of look, obviously diminutive in size next to this one. But overall, it looks pretty good. And it looks like you can place some models up on these X-Wings, and they sit nice and flush. And actually looking at this, Jace, it looks to be slightly taller than anticipated. Because
it does.
That one veteran looks to be head height above, the other model. I know they're kind of crouching. The veterans are a bit short, but at least it has some height, a little bit more than I was expecting. So, that's what we had there. And then there's the full shot, which I think is really cool. And if you really wanted to extrapolate the size of that, it looks like it's 6 or 7 mini bases wide. So I think that's a pretty decent size piece of terrain after all. So And I'm not sure, I can't remember how many little pieces you get, maybe 3 additional pieces, 4 pieces total, I think. So maybe it's 5, but
Something like that, I think.
yeah. And you got the really cool, crouching pilot that comes with it. So a great hostage, kind of a bonus figure, if you will. But
Yeah.
yeah, so that is where we at. Look at that. We got through that all in 55 minutes, leaving us about 35 for some round table. Let's just preview a couple more things here before we jump over. I want to thank a couple more people before I jump out of here. Phoenix Games out of Australia, as I mentioned, Bryant helping us out with some prizes pretty substantially. So go check out Phoenix Games. And Bryant, I believe, is potentially even able to cast with us tomorrow as an extra body on Friday Night Fights, which we miss him, of course, and Michael, who we need to convince to come and help us for the 30th. So Michael, if you're listening, you know where our group chat's at. Dice Time as well. Ben and Paul helping us out here. Got some alt arts that we have being donated to the stream, which is great. We gave some of those out before, so if you're looking for those the Bosk, the Cad, and the Bobas, we got some of those alt arts available. Gamers Grass, as previously mentioned, helping us out here in studio. Looked like they had some tufts on the bases and those models, and very well they could have been Gamers Grass tufts for all I know. And then, of course, Aaron, back to basics. Wargaming Products down again in Australia, helping us out with some studio layout stuff, as well as several donations. And Aaron's been a big supporter of the studio for a long time. So shout outs to Aaron from Back to Basics. Jace, we're going to tell people about this, the Make It Better Points Edition. We are going to continue to have a look at lists. We would love to have some submissions with the new points. If you do send it to us, let us know. Did it go up or down? What are your thoughts on it? And is it actually a list you're running now because you couldn't afford to run it before? Or is it something that even the new rules have you brave enough now to run with the pass mechanic and all the other little bits? And reminder, it's not a new game. It's just a few rules tweaks. So, Jace, you ready for Roundtable or what?
You bet I am.
All right. Okay, so rules for Roundtable, and I'm hoping that we can cycle some bodies through. So no monopolization of the microphone tonight, because we want to get as many opinions in here as possible. Let's say varied opinions. The topics for discussion tonight for the 32 minutes that we have, and we're going to hold ourselves tight to that 90 minutes, is going to be as follows. Just one second. I just need to check something on my phone. Oh, hey, geez, I don't want to miss this. Jace, I saw my phone pop up. Congratulations, and thank you very much for the shout out and the donation. Nick Smith coming in with a $32 donation. Nick, not sure if you're aware, but I'm going to bring this point up. That donation of $32 is actually tripling tonight because we still have some of Stan and the anonymous donators extra funds. So your $32 becomes Stan's $32, becomes anonymous $32, and lo and behold, that's a $96 donation towards the PTZ. Thank you very much, Nick, for that. Like I said, terrainstudio2019@gmail.com if you want to help us out. Shout outs to Nick in chat. Make sure you guys say thank you. He is helping you out by helping us out. So here are the discussion topics for tonight. What just happened? So you're phrasing a sentence using that, and specifically talking about what's happening in Legion, or anything, but maybe Legion. Finally,
Maybe just Legion.
If something dropped that you have been waiting for years and years and years and months, even days, even hours, perhaps, depending on when you came into the game of Legion. I see people coming to the boards like, it's my first day in Legion, and they're like running into this wall of people just with the world on fire, which is fantastic. I'm so confused. It could be something that you're confused about. Maybe you're not really sure why grappling hooks are 2 points. I am actually confused about that. And then finally,
me as well.
The best one, I'll pass. And so phrasing it out in terms of any way you want to use that pun intended phrase there. So we can take 2 people at a time here tonight. In fact, I can probably get 3 in. But use your manners, and we'll boot people out if we have people calling in. If you see 2 people on the screen and you're trying to call in and you don't get in, just wait for me to kick one of those folks out, and you guys can definitely call back. Here is the link in chat. Okay, Jace. Well, we probably anticipate that we'll have some good, robust conversation tonight. Here comes our first guest. Your friend and not mine, the E-Webmaster.
I never said he was my friend.
Please don't ban me. I love you, 48 Throated. Fantastic.
Oh, he drew you a picture, Shawn.
He drew me a picture.
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Let me get Andrew in here 1 second. I got to remove Andrew from the. Go ahead, Ron. You're live, so you can chat.
No, just leave Andrew right there. Oh, okay.
Perfect placement.
Oh, sorry. I'm still thinking of passing right now. I'm not quite too sure. Can you give me 5 more minutes while I decide if I want to pass or actually play the game?
I can.
Oh, okay, thank you. No. Finally it has happened. AMG has admitted that they had no idea how to play this game and that they're going to kill it so we can all play Shatterpoint. Who's excited to watch the Terrain Studio become a Shatterpoint community? God, I'm so excited for this.
Not happening, but okay.
That won't happen, but...
oh, man. I mean, their reasoning behind a lot of things was just mind-blowing. I'm not going to give you all my details. You guys are going to have to wait for those over time, as I can't give them all to you right now, even though I have them fully prepared. You're just going to have to wait about a month, maybe 2 if I decide to delay them. I'm still working on that first thing I told you about. I forgot what that was, but I think I've delayed that a couple times. But it's like this game does not feel good right now based off of them still not knowing how to communicate with the community and admitting that by also acknowledging that the Facebook group and the Discord are not official channels for anything, which is kind of mind-blowing when the previous company who took care of this game just literally talked to anybody and just gave everything away that they could. So it feels a lot like AMG is trying to compete with GW right now. I mean, we're seeing that with their terrain. We're seeing that now where they're pricing units based off of what rank they are. So it's, God, it doesn't feel good to be in this game right now. I'm thankful I'm playing like 7 other miniature games at this point. So it's like if I'm still waiting next week because I'm expecting a document next week that basically says they have
Cease and
organized
desist,
play
Ryan, with your comments. Oh, sorry,
Yeah, I
that
know.
document.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I'm still waiting on that. No, I'm waiting for an organized play article that says, "Hey, we have this. We haven't announced. Wait till after Worlds, like 3 months after Worlds, and then we might tell you something, but you'll have to wait." Oh, and by the way, here's a new skirmish kit that is going to be useless because you guys are going to be playing Shatterpoint anyway in June.
Okay, well, I mean, you can hold out hope for hope, I guess.
Yeah,
So
do what you want.
We'll leave Ryan there. Pally, you're now next to Ryan, which means you're now responsible for him. Let's hear from Andrew in terms of some discussion topics here. So.
No, I was actually checking with Ryan there until he brought in Shatterpoint in the conversation. I thought I was going to go down the path with the rules, like making the game easier for them as a staff to play with less complicated rules that they maybe actually get right.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we've all seen it. Now they're just actually saying it and admitting it. Like, it's
Less complicated rules make games go faster, and you Ryan have always complained about game time. So
yeah, my complaint about game time is people complaining about game time, even though most games are finished. And well, if you're playing Shawn, you're game is finished in round 2. But most of the time, on average, the game is finished around 4 or 5. But apparently we need to play 6 full rounds of Legion, apparently.
That's how the game was meant to be played.
It could happen. Pally, I think, let's see, somebody was concerned that you were looking cold.
You're cold.
Here. Oh, yeah, Justice was, concerned, yeah. Well, in about 2 hours, his rear sphincter will be anything but cold after the spicy chicken sandwich. So perhaps that will send a warm, fuzzy feeling through the rest of his body. So we have that to look forward to.
It's about 1 degree Fahrenheit with the wind chill, so it's not that cold.
Okay. Give us some discussion topics here, Pally, to kick us back in the right direction here.
I'm gonna pass on the pass mechanic.
Okay, fantastic.
It's cool. It's interesting, and I think it gives a little bit of a leg up to lower activation lists, and we might actually see the average activation come down a little bit until Ryan shows up with 15 act something or other.
Oh no, Pally, you didn't hear this before. Yeah, me and Shawn were talking about how we're predicting one of the next 3 articles that comes out is going to be capped at 12 activations.
Cap.
I saw that. I actually think
I'm kind of half joking.
The first article that came out is a lot more impactful than a lot of people are giving it credit for.
Okay, what's your take on that? Go ahead.
Yeah, so first off, the Dark Troopers coming out are going to use silhouettes like the rest of like every other trooper. So the models look really tall, but they're not mechanically. Yep. But that's kind of an aside. Realistically, I think the biggest change is to vehicles having silhouettes, and all of the applicable speeder bikes just got really good. Mm-hmm. They're because they're mechanic, like the interactable profile of the bike shrunk down to minuscule sizes, and they're going to be much easier to hide. Basically, always going to have heavy cover, and you're going to be able to maneuver them a lot easier through terrain and really watch your angles and protect them from just getting shredded. Like, Blizzard Force is good now with 4 bikes. I wouldn't be surprised with the silhouettes if that Blizzard becomes Force. Just downright impressive.
Yeah, I actually like how every update so far has just been a subtle buff to Blizzard Force, which is really good because they were kind of needing it at this point. So
they needed help.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Clones a close second, but Blizzard Force definitely first. Yeah.
Yeah. It's Uncle Sam. I really think that first article is a lot more impactful than the past mechanic is. On top of that, we mentioned it last night chatting in Discord, but B1's sticking out a range 4 gun by itself, best attrition generator ever.
Okay.
Because it can't be terrain sniped anymore.
Okay.
So.
But it also means you can stick out one model and they can just blast a whole bunch of shots into it and just wipe the unit.
Yeah, no. But like what? Yeah, no, because it can only take 1 wound.
You're wound capped at the number of minis that are visible. So if you only put out the range for the red white crit 1 gun, if you only put out the 1B1, they have to essentially put 7 shots into that unit to wipe that mini.
Okay, well, the same premise applies here too. So, like, I'm thinking about intercept, for example. Well, before or previous, I would basically concede 2 and 4 and swamp on 6. Now I'm going to set unit leaders within the ring and cohere everyone out of line of sight, and just basically lose 1B1 at a time. Until you kill me. So my invasion force of 8 B1s sitting on the middle while everything else goes off and harasses the back intercept points is now the new tactic.
Yeah, so why now bring large die pools? It doesn't matter. Like What's going to happen now is everyone's going to have critical. Everyone is going to have critical because critical doesn't care about your cover at all. And they're just going to slap their heavy unit out because it can't get terrain sniped anymore. And you're just going to have the most uninteractive games of Legion to where it literally becomes a battle of attrition.
Now,
objective play doesn't matter anymore. It's just attrition.
Well, the other half of this, though, is it effectively neuters the strike team as the act pad. Because up until now, strike teams have been basically a neutral activation. They can go whenever, do their thing. If it gets shot, the leader hides behind line of sight blocking terrain, whatever it's done. Now, you almost can't go with your strike team until after it's shot at. Because if you do, then they shoot at it, and now your leader's hanging out in the open by himself.
Yep.
Do you think, in a way, though, do you think the dodge tax that's now added to several of the upgrades, coupled with the fact that like snipers are now more vulnerable, and of course the high velocity chase, increase the high velocity as the dodges go up, and that was kind of a battle. Now we have the dodge tax, which means probably less dodges out there, and then the high velocity, potentially vulnerability in the strike teams. Do you think one or both are going to stop being prevalent? Do you think we're going to not bother people paying with the points for vigilance, like too expensive, I'm not taking anymore? And then do you think snipers are actually going to disappear because their value is going to go down as the dodge values decrease?
I still think strike teams
went way up in value.
Yeah, I think strike teams are still valuable because, as we've been talking about, the cover rules changed.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, as everyone should, is discuss what cover provides, what terrain provides what cover. And since now, even if, I've been hearing one individual say a grass tuff will now provide cover just because it obscures just a little bit of that silhouette. And if we discussed, oh, hey, by the way, this piece of terrain that this grass tuff is on has heavy cover. Sharpshooter just got so much better and so much more needed now. And strike teams have sharpshooter. And since everyone's slapping their heavy weapons out and it became a battle of attrition and I have to pump wounds through, well, now I still have my range 5 gun. So I'm still out of range of your range 4 gun right here. This unit still has low profile, which is even more broken now because of the cover rules. So I'm now taking your cover down by 1. I'm at a longer range than you. I have high velocity, so even if you are paying that dodge tax, can't use it. And I'm guaranteeing a wound through, so you just lost a model for sure. So I think people saying, oh, strike teams are dead, I don't think they're right anymore. Like, we could still see triple snipers because it's the longest range in the game. I mean, you're going to see a lot more Iden and Cassian because they have infinite range. And marksmen, so they're just going to be plinking everything right now.
Well,
okay, so hold on one second.
So here's the thing. Well, I don't think snipers are dead. I oh my gosh. Sorry. I don't think they're dead. I think that they're no longer a neutral activation in the way they have been, which is an important distinction. Also, I don't think snipers go away. I don't think the dodge spam builds go away. I just think you now have to be more picky and choosy with what you're going after in your list design.
Well, I also think with the dodge spam, we have this pass mechanic. So now this tax that we thought was a thing a few weeks ago doesn't exist anymore. Mm-hmm. Because now I can still take my Pike gun line, I can take my Rebel DLT Captain situational awareness dodge spam list, run them at 8 or 9 acts because I'm loading everything up, and now I'm at a lower act count. I'm playing someone who's at 10 or 11. I'm going to be passing most of the time. I have dodges everywhere now. I'm slapping my heavy unit out there now. You can only kill one model at a time now. It's we're now like, don't get offended by this, Sean, and please don't ban me. But now we're playing your style of game to where it's extremely uninteractive. To where it's just, can I outrange my opponent? Do I have more models than my opponent? Do I have more longer guns than my opponent? If I do, I don't have to play the objective right away. Like the game right now, breaking it down, it feels like it's now a battle of attrition. Who has more critical in their weapons? Who has longer range now? Melee is basically moot at this point because half the time these things are going to be out in the open now because terrain tables are going to be slimmer with their terrain because people don't want to be shooting through heavy cover on every freaking shot now. So why am I bringing a melee unit on a terrain table that a table has like 7 pieces of terrain and it's not going to get cover and I might as well just shoot at everybody now.
Okay, well, hold on. So there's so much to unpack there. Let's give Andrew a couple more minutes here. Justice is trying to call so we can cycle people through. I have many things to say to what Ryan just said in response, but I will also say that. So, Andrew, go ahead and take some cracks here at either agreeance or disagreeance with Ryan, Pally, myself, or Jace here, or take it in a whole new direction.
And while you do that, I'm going to grab my inhaler real quick.
Yeah, nice.
He is so butthurt about 13X not being the king anymore that he's got to get his inhaler.
Go ahead.
So I believe that my initial reaction to the article today, I believe that the pass mechanic was long overdue to indeed reward those lower activation lists. I think my reaction was I think it makes the Republic a little more viable. Again, it allows fire support to not be such a crippling mechanic that you can fire support and not have to sit through 3 activations at the end of the turn because you unloaded everything into one thing. You don't have to sit, like I said, you don't have to sit there for watching your opponent unload their last 3 activations and everything you have left out there.
Right. So Andrew, before I cycle Justice in here, give me your overall opinion about, as a collective, about what we've heard this week in terms of the points, the new cover, the new line of sight, the pass mechanic. What are you giving the game now as an overall? Are you more interested, disinterested, neutral in this? Or are you a wait and see guy, excited, disappointed? Where are you at?
I guess I'm kind of neutral right now. Maybe a little more on the excited. I think, at least I hope that the new rules, especially the cover, does streamline and make it a more, I guess, linear. Linear, I guess, what I'm looking for, perspective on the covers, to where it's not it takes less time to figure out the cover, where we have actual set boxes or I guess how they call it, cylinders.
Yeah.
To standardization. Yeah. I'm hoping that the next one has something to do with vehicles and their line of sight. Because for me, I find that to be the most complicated for me. Whenever I play like with an ATST or airspeeder, I spend like at least a fifth of the game trying to figure out, okay, where does line of sight go from? Am I going enough over the top of a barricade or a piece of terrain to where it's no longer cover, or is still obscured to give cover? So that's what I'm waiting for.
Right.
Well, so that was already addressed in the first article, though.
It was.
It's basically anywhere.
Yeah. So vehicles have their own silhouettes.
Yeah.
And you measure line of sight from anywhere on that silhouette. So essentially, anywhere on that vehicle hull can be used as a point for line of sight for shooting.
Pally, I think we need to
as
go
long as it's over the base.
I think we need to go over what they describe the vehicle silhouette rule as, going from the base of the model to the top of the hull.
Yeah.
So anything that has a
Yes.
flight stand, it is literally that flight stand plus the model.
Mm-hmm. Now, the important thing here is it's any part of that silhouette. So if from any part of that silhouette you can see an entire silhouette unobstructed of an opponent's mini, that mini doesn't have cover.
But in theory, are they saying that like a T-47? So if I have an AA5 parked and a miniature next to the AA5 adjacent on the other side, which normally I probably couldn't see. Let's just say my T-47's at an angle, but now I can actually measure underneath the AA5 from the bottom of the T-47 base.
Rules is written. Yeah. Rules is written. Yeah.
Cool. So
and
a
that
T-47
T-47
now can ground scrape and shoot under an AA5 to a mini that's adjacent to the other side.
Okay. Who's
Also,
trying to steal my thunder?
Hold on. I want to say goodbye to Andrew. I want to give a shout because I have a couple things here, and then I want to get Justice in. Andrew, thanks very much for coming in.
And Sean, that's not me. No, someone is trying to steal my thunder. Look, it took so much restraint to do this, and this is not my burner account. Trust me.
Thanks a lot, Andrew. We'll
Andrew.
Catch you in the next episode or Friday.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Cheers.
Yeah.
All right, let me get Justice in here. Here, by the way, I just want to shout out here, Stan coming in. Like I said, matching those donations. So thank you very much, Stan. And then Donnie Collins jumping in with a $20 donation. Thank you very much, Donnie, as well. Justice, you can give that shout back in, and I'll get you in here as we round out our last 8 minutes. So we'll get Justice in here. So that makes it a little bit, that point of view where the T-47 is base to top of model and now can shoot to something on the other side, which otherwise would be completely obscured. Even a whole unit could be on the other side of an AA5 and I wouldn't be able to see that. But now being able to shoot underneath.
Don, here's the other thing.
A bit extreme.
Yep. Here's the other thing. That T-47 normally would not get cover because we use true line of sight to vehicles. But now, since they gave it a silhouette that is now a literal cylinder, that T-47 can hide behind a building. You can clearly see it's above it and not obscured at all by that building. It's still going to get heavy covered because its faux silhouette is obscured.
There's an argument here that it doesn't.
And what's that argument? Because I've tried to bring this up and everyone's like, no, it's got a silhouette now from the base. It's got a silhouette.
The part where I forget what the exact keyword is, but because it speeder 2, I think it is, right? It ignores terrain height 2 or less.
That's movement.
So it'll need to get FAQ'd if ignores terrain includes the cover benefits of terrain.
Yeah, it will definitely have to because that's for movement.
The other thing too is we're just looking at snippets of the new rules. Nothing says they can't leave the rule in repulsor vehicles that says the base doesn't count.
Yeah, but Jace...
Yeah, the clear peg rule.
What we're going to have to do...
They can easily make it that up to the clear peg doesn't count.
I think that would be a great way to do it.
Yeah.
Which it should be, which, I mean...
But I'm saying you're taking it
yeah.
without seeing the whole rules.
Well, it's kind of hard to, but, I'm going to have to wait till the middle of January to go out and buy this new rule book that they're probably never going to update again.
Or that could just be a PDF online for free.
Can I spend the extra $40 for the foiled out edition?
I will point out that Ryan interneted me earlier when I asked a question about snipers, not stating that they were or weren't going away. I merely stated, would they? He extrapolated that to say snipers are dead and people are saying that on the internet. So definitely interneted me there. And my point being, and we missed a great point up there, so I want to cycle back to that before I get Justice in. Sean Death pointed out, and this is kind of to the point that I think you were saying, Pally, around they're not, but full scouts and the value of taking a sniper in full scouts may have just gone up. Because it gets around the vulnerability of what we were suggesting around strike teams. And full strikes don't hit half bad either, just saying. So that value may have went up. And I think that is a way to preserve the value of high velocity. But I was getting to the point where I think high velocity, the vulnerability of high velocity isn't just so cut and dry like it is now, where it's like, oh, dodge spam, no problem, I'll get around with this. Shoot my sniper, great, I teleport, I'll do this all over again. We don't have that potential right now, but full scouts is a way to get back to that, and maybe actually slightly better than that. So,
well, yeah, it goes up because now act count doesn't matter at all. Because now I want to go into this. I want to go into this.
You can't say
no,
that,
no. Act count still matters a lot.
I really don't think it is.
No,
I really don't think it does.
There's the reason you would pass is because you want to push your activation back to do something later in the turn. The most impactful moments in Legion mechanically happen on the last activation of a turn, and there is almost no way a pass alone will get you last activation. Games are won and lost based on who controls priority and who can act last on the last round of the game.
Yeah, but that doesn't matter
Pass
anymore
does
now with
not
the new
get you
terrain
that.
rules. Yeah, but
it
passing
does.
just got that much better with the new terrain rules, with now everyone slapping their heavy weapon out there, now taking a full commando team with a sniper. What they just did was basically take the new cover rules and make it look like, okay, so I can actually make riskier moves. And now with these pass mechanics, it's like, now I don't have to be as risky, and I don't have to be interactive and play the game with my opponent. That's ultimately what they did.
I think
if I'm going last,
I think you still do.
No, because if I'm going last in the round and I don't have the same number of activations as you do, and I'm down by 1, I'm just gonna pass, make you go twice in a row, leave you out in the open, and you still can't shoot me, and I'm gonna just lay waste to you because you're out in the open. Yeah,
but here's the thing.
Like,
again, pass doesn't get you last.
It doesn't. Hold on.
It doesn't get me last, but it ties me up with that.
Hold on. We're tying up many people's time, including Justice, who is in here, and we're on like a 4-minute timer here. So Justice,
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I didn't see you there, Justice.
monopolized. Yeah, he's out. It's because he's in full heavy cover, out of line of sight. Go, Justice. You're up.
So instead of a rant, I'm actually going to pick a discussion topic. Right?
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Someone
Thank you
who
for
knows
actually.
the
Go with,
Thanks you
Hey,
for
I did
actually
that.
being in the spirit of Roundtable. Yeah, Pally did too, and Andrew did. That was good.
Hey, I did too. I hit 2 with 1.
Ryan's in time.
You don't-
I
you
just
don't get
muted- I
brownie
just
points.
muted Ryan. Ryan cannot talk.
Yeah.
Even if
So-
he moves his lips, no sounds will come out. Go ahead.
Oh, thank God. So I'm going to go with the I'm so confused. And I'm going to pick it because I'm so confused on why AMG is releasing it like this instead of just dropping it all at one time.
That is fair.
Now we have to sit here for over a month and wait.
And thank you for
to
formatting
find
it
out
in a
what is
much more
actually going
intelligent
on,
way
'cause
than
every
Ryan.
week. Yeah.
I'm going to push back a little.
Yeah, every week it's just, oh, how does this work?
I'm going to push back a little.
All right, go ahead.
I think it's a lot better that we get these changes piecemeal this far out, because these are core fundamental changes to how Legion is played, and it gives the community time to really sit down and look at this before it hits official implementation for the tournament circuit.
See, you would think that,
Because-
but there's a... Oh, you did mute me.
No, you're in.
Oh, okay. I was gonna
fine.
say, you would be correct, but there is that small percentage that have probably already play tested these rules, just based off of the fact that one group is releasing articles the next day with photographs of these new silhouettes and having articles ready to go explaining the rules and everything. So the company that says they don't know how to
would like to say
communicate
one
with the
thing here.
community is reaching out to a different group that has for some reason become
Or-
the mouthpiece of the game.
I don't know if we can
And they
verify
probably-
that. So.
Yeah,
They're
like,
better at their
okay.
job
But
than
like-
you are.
No,
Yeah,
like,
that could be fair.
People are pretty quick on. People are quick on the internet.
I would agree with
so
that.
yeah, like, and I don't think they're that quick. Like, they could be because some of these articles are just grammatically incorrect. But I'm still, it's that silhouette picture that they had on TTS, ready to go, explaining how this looks. And more likely, they had to have play tested these rules. We sure as hell know that AMG couldn't have play tested them because they can't even play the basic game right. So they had to give it out to somebody, had to have them play test and be like, what do you guys think? And more than likely, with everything else, because we know how unbalanced new units come out, they're like, yeah, sure, this is great. Thanks for letting us test this and get a leg up on everybody.
I would say this. There could be people who have theorized or hypothesized this, because I'm pretty sure like moments after this came out, I saw somebody release like a product shot of like multiple silhouettes. And I don't know. I don't know if they were from a different game, or I think, speculating that, I think that's what Andrew's saying. So how hard can it be to create a 3D cylinder on the internet? So there may have been some ponderance about if this happened or if this occurred. Maybe they weren't to the precise height. And we don't know. That image, yes, it came out very rapidly, but we've seen that before. People are dropping articles quick. I mean, it does. We know too that people have had the X-Wing release out for like a couple weeks now. We've seen spoilers and box releases and things like that. So there obviously is information that gets out ahead of release schedules. That's for sure. But we don't have that information, so we're like the balance of the rest of the public, Joe Public here, and reacting to it as we get it. I don't disagree that I think there will be people ahead of the learning curve on all this. Like, just imagine somebody new coming into the game. They join Christmas Day, they get the box set, and 2 weeks later the game is different, and it's not even the same as the rules they opened in there. So those are the kind of people I'm a little bit concerned with, or who are coming in, learn it one way, learn it or just learning it now, only to have that changed. However, there will be people who may find the game even simpler to play based on some of these mechanics that don't come with the the hindrance of all the knowledge that we have, what it used to be like. There's people who still like clones now. So there's even those people. So, there's people who remember when getting, fire supported off the table with 47 shared aim tokens wasn't fun. And then I saw people calling for like, what if that came back? No, that wouldn't be good at all. But that's only really my opinion on that, right? So lived experience, I think, is pretty critical here. And you have lots, Ryan, because you played the game for a long time from the start, right? So
yeah, and I've lived through the game with all its ups and downs. And one thing that's been on my mind recently is, what do Alex and Luke think of this? Like, this was their baby, and Luke is the only one who will talk about Legion releases. And I've seen him on Twitter, and the last thing that he talked about outside of the X-Wing terrain was the leak of Cody. And he's like, man, it's great that they went with this idea that I pitched.
I think it was a spoiler. I don't think it was a leak, right? Like an AMG.
It was a leak or spoiler or something.
They showed it at a con, I think, but yeah.
Yeah, but he said, man, it's great that they went with the idea that I pitched. And I saw that, I'm like, I feel like AMG had all these ideas, and they're just starting to come to fruition. And I feel like he was the only one to push back, because he's like, no, guys, it's balanced right now. This is how we intended it. Very few changes. List building is fully creative. We shouldn't punish players for taking a high act list. We shouldn't help players for taking like Yoda or Palpatine and being low on the activation count. No, we tried to make terrain as the cover rules as simple as possible with true line of sight. We don't need to overhaul it, and you don't need to put your touch on it. But as Graham is saying, they said they weren't going to make changes with X-Wing, and sure enough, as soon as they made changes with X-Wing, the community split in half. And I don't think this helps that they're, in next month, going to start pumping out all Shatterpoint stuff, putting everything else on the back burner, just so that they can get their new game out.
I'm just feeling bad for Justice, who's literally on the panel, who has to write his opinion in chat.
Dude, I'm so sorry.
It's okay. Justice can talk more because it's past 10, so I have to head out.
Yeah. All right. We'll see you in a bit. I'll talk to you in a bit.
See you, Jace.
You bet.
Yeah, I said I'm going to give 5 more minutes here. So go ahead, Justice. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I know they did say specifically for points. I understand what Jake's saying, but it's just irritating that everyone's in such a degree of confusion. And for them, I'm sure it's really good because it's got people talking about their game, and a lot of the players are bringing it up more and kind of going through a lot of crazy stuff. But at the same time, I mean, you get people like Ryan who are real mad about some of these changes because we don't know the full degree of them. No one does. A lot of it right now is speculation, and some people are going to start playing this and testing it now to try to get used to it, and it could be completely different than what we're
I won't
expecting.
I won't do that. I won't touch this game from the current standpoint, other than the points, because the points to me aren't going to be. I think they're going to be independent of the rules. Like, I don't think they put mortars down by 2 or up 2 points because line of sight changed. Like, I don't think that's what. So I'm okay with the point changes being tested right now because that's what you're going to live. I personally won't touch these rules until they become effective. That's what we talked about in the league. That's what we'll kind of do even on the tabletop. I don't want to change it. It is that weird time where it's like, I know this is going to change, but what do we say? We play right now Legion, right? And so until the 16th of January, this is the Legion that we have. And it's kind of a weird space to be in. And that goes back to your point about, like, you don't love how they release this either. I don't either. Maybe I'm not seeing the whole picture, and maybe it is a great tactic because we are going to be talking about Legion for the next while for sure. Maybe it's a case where they want to sort of slow trickle this out. Maybe there's a whole bunch of things in the queue, and we might not even get them all now at all. Maybe there's going to be almost a release reaction type response from the folks there. Like, we don't know, because I don't know how many changes are coming, and I know I'll call them a change. To me, it's a change. If you change a fundamental aspect of how the game works, it's a change. It's not an overhaul, meaning they're not going to change everything. But I mean, if you change, well, look, Pally's pointed out, you change this, it changes that. You change this, it changes this. It is changing the game. Ryan's freaking out because 13 Axe is not near as powerful anymore. I'm thinking it's kind of cool because the pass mechanic seems to me to add a strategic element to the game. People are happy because they can play clones again. So you make a few changes, it changes the perspective of all 4 people on this panel, which I think is extrapolated across the Legion community. There's probably very few people who are sitting back and being like, no impact on my game. This won't change anything. Maybe not every element changes part of their game, but I think any little change changes the game fundamentally. It'll change how I play the game against you, which means it changes how you experience the game.
Yeah. If I, like, you guys brought up 2 points that I really want to talk about, which was them trickling this out slowly and the impact on newer players, because, well, sadly, Frank can't see it anymore, but 90% of the time in the Facebook group, I'm seeing new players come in. They're like, hey, I got this new box. I don't understand the rules. And people are like, use the RRG. And they're like, well, what is that? Now, if they get the core set, because if you're in the U.S., you only got 3 Battle Force boxes that aren't even fully complete yet. They're like, how do I play this game? Players are going to be like, I don't know. We got to wait, 1 whole month, few weeks before we get the new rules, and we don't even know how to play that. Like, well, if I just got that, and I wouldn't want to play that game because the players don't know what the hell is going on. The rules aren't even out yet for the game, and it's been out almost, 4 years now. Like, why do I even bother jumping into this? Yeah, it's a Christmas gift, but I might as well return it and go buy another product. And with the trickling, like, I know we always love to compare Legion to, 40K or AOS, but, like, GW is literally the pinnacle of how a game company should run. They pump articles out about their games all the time. When they announce a new unit, they put rules in there. They put actual excerpts and explain how it's going to play instead of giving an opinion from a company that has no idea how to play the game and what they think is going to happen. But they're doing it consistently.
Well, hold on. GW does not know how to play their own game.
I would say GW knows how to play 40K and Age of Sigmar better than AMG knows how to play Legion. But the point is they're constantly pumping information out to their players to understand. So when the last release was Militarum, the whole week and the week prior, they're pumping articles out about this is what this new army has. These are the new keywords that this army has. This is how you can play this game. This is how it interacts with X, Y, and Z. But now AMG's like, hey, here's this thing. By the way, we're not changing the game. And they're spatting their own opinions out there because they know there's going to be backlash. And there was so much backlash on Monday that they had to go in and update the article because they left everyone confused on how it impacts a rule already. It doesn't look good when they're doing this at all. It doesn't feel good. Like people are confused. We're sitting here, arguing like everything today. Like we could go back to this on the 16th and it could just be a moot point at this point. We're like, man, we look like idiots arguing like this. But like this is what they left it to, up to, you would hope open to debate and discussion depending on which platform you're on. But, if you're on one side or the other, you can't get along at all.
Yeah, I think it's important to point out that this conversation doesn't strike me technically as an argument per se, because we all have a varied opinion on the approach. I don't think anyone absolutely loves it. I think where we differ maybe on opinion is the impact of the rules that are being suggested. But that's not really an argument either. We're going to have that all day long. I say eWebs are no good. You say they're awesome, et cetera, et cetera. But I think one thing we can find common ground on is the approach from the standpoint of how you think that's impacting the community. For me, I think getting out some pieces early is creating a buzz and discussion. Now, part of the animosity I think that's coming out in the community is people reacting to other people's reaction of the rules. And I think that's what's actually creating the most rifts. I don't like how you're reacting to this, or I don't like that you don't like what's happened. That's where it's getting all convoluted. I'll just state my opinion. I don't love the release like Justice was suggesting, because if you're going to give me something, even if it's part, give me the whole part of the part. Like, don't be suggestive that more might come out for that specific part. If you want to give me the line of sight rules, give me everything that applies to that so that I can start formulating my new opinion about line of sight. But if you give me half of it, I'm still going to formulate an opinion. And as you pointed out, I could be way wrong or way right, but I don't have a way of justifying that. I don't. Then you can find contention with that. And then you and I then enter into some debate or argument, and that's actually how it's happening.
And most of the time it's, these admin of these non-official channels, because I'm just going to refer to them as non-official channels because that's what the company does. And we're not of banning something. Like, you can't have a discussion because, as you pointed out, like I'm the only one that disagrees on everything that they've done. But I can't say that and say I disagree because of X, Y, and Z, because people just see he hates everything. It's like, no, this is my reasoning. If you step back and try to listen or read what I'm trying to say, like, you might actually understand, because I'm like, I get you think it's great. Here's my rebuttal, and we can have this discussion back and forth and play on until, middle of January and see what happens. I think it was also Andrew in here in the chat who's like, what? They're dropping this, 2.5 months before Worlds and 2 weeks before LVO?
10 days.
And the rules czar of who runs LVO has already said, damn right, we're going to be using these new rules. Which, I mean, everyone looks to LVO as the precursor to Worlds of like, oh man, what are people running? What do I have to prep for? Well, it could be, part of my language, but it could be a shit show, because you got people who don't quite understand these new rules yet, and you have players who have no idea what's going on. And I know they're using chess clocks at LVO because they love doing that, but games are going to take longer.
If I'm being realistic here, the people who are probably going to top 8 LVO and Worlds aren't going to have a problem adjusting to these rules.
And I'm going to put my tinfoil hat on.
There's the casuals, but No, because I'm not a part of that group. You're not a part of that group. Sean's not a part of that group. Justice is not a part of that group. I don't think any one of us here would have a problem adapting these rules on the fly.
Yeah, but it's how,
Like,
again, tinfoil hat, like maybe these individuals that you mentioned might have the rules out already based on how the previous company interacted with them. Like, I think anything goes at this point, and I know it sounds scary, but it just feels like the game is up in the air at this point. Like, I know I sound like a freaking conspiracy theorist, but that's my biggest concern, is that certain individuals that are playtesters, and we know who they are because you look at any product that has their name on it, but these rules have to be tested somehow. And again, we know AMG does rarely play the game correctly. They had to give it out to somebody of like, this is how we're releasing it.
Interesting.
We can't say anything else about it until this date.
I'm curious about AMG not playing the game correctly, though, because looking at the scope of the changes they're making, and we're only 2 articles deep, how many iterations are they trying to remember and work through?
This is my point, Pally, right here.
Without giving information away to the community, because they still have to put on a show, they still have to play a stream game, but they've got so many different variations of rules at this. Like, if we had this discussion 2 weeks ago, it would be a different thing. But just looking at the scope of the changes now, like, how many iterations of these are locked away in their heads that they're trying to remember which particular version they're running with?
So you're thinking that these streams we were looking into accidental live playtesting?
I don't think accidental. I just think that I think Pally's pointing out that if they have been testing different elements of the game, which you would expect a gaming company to be doing, when they're trying to put on live performances of right now Legion, there could be things that are creeping in and be like, oh no, that was something we thought we were doing, but we're not doing that. Or that's something that we're thinking about doing that we are, that you can't know about. I think that's what,
on top of that,
like range 4 webs.
Like,
yeah.
okay.
And on top of that, you have to remember, it's not just Legion.
Yeah.
It's MCP, Legion, X-Wing. Now we know Shatterpoint.
Okay,
like,
can I counter then?
You have so much bandwidth in your brain.
Here's my counter to that. FFG had the game before. They could play right now Legion, and they managed multiple miniature games, multiple board games, multiple card games, and they were able to keep it locked away and would only drop new things, not gameplay-wise, but any new addition to the game. That was it. So it's either AMG is not a solid game company because they don't have the staff, or FFG was just better at it.
Counterpoint to that, FFG burst the game, and Alex and Davey were there from its inception and understood the logical progression of where it started to where they were at. Plus, they had how many years of playtesting before that we even knew the game existed? Whereas AMG got this dumped in their laps. So now they have a game that they're trying to learn and understand and design for and implement and iterate on. Like, there's a level of catch-up that they're pulling.
And
granted, we're now a year or so later, or however long it's been. I don't even know anymore. But there is a process of delay when you're dealing with these kind of pipelines.
I get that, but as Frank just pointed out, and Andrew is agreeing, why do you get rid of the 2 developers of the game then? Why do you do that? Because right now it's not making sense. Yeah, it looks absolutely terrible right now on their part because the community's freaking out and they have no one to reach out to. Like, I remember a rule change happening live at a tournament I was at. And it's the whole mortar with detachment rule changed right before my eyes back in 2019 to where the judge had Alex Davies' number, texted him, asked him about this rule, and in 5 minutes got a response back. But now, if someone has a question about a rule, you have to Google search the FAQ because it's not linked to the website, or you have to post to the Facebook group, and you have to hope that someone responds in time with a rules update.
I will tell you a quick Alex Davies story. I actually texted him from my basement studio right here about a question about bombing run, and he got back to me within minutes, and I've conversed with him many times since and before. But that is one thing that we've had a much different experience with now. Again, we don't know all the layers. Maybe it's more restrictive now with AMG having the license than it was before. Maybe there's different rules for AMG than FFG in terms of the community reach out and etc. They have expressed that, they can't post on those official channels. They have their own official ones. So we know that we know that the evolution of communication has changed significantly from the FFG umbrella to the AMG umbrella. Nonetheless, we still like to, pontificate about the game as much as we did before. We just don't have that connect, and I think that's actually part of what we're experiencing right now. We're asking questions, we're getting stonewalled. We're asking questions, we're getting, ghosted. We're asking questions, we're getting vague responses. We're asking questions, we're getting kind of snooty responses in some cases. So I don't think any of that's actually super helpful. It doesn't make me, I don't dislike anybody from AMG. I don't dislike the game of Legion. You'd have to work really hard to make me hate Legion. But we're never going to like all the things. We're on spectrums. Ryan's not there. I don't know what Ryan would like in Legion at this point.
I can tell you right now, what I would like is just units released, open communication, and stop trying to change things that aren't actual problems.
Okay, we can agree on that, Ryan.
Yeah,
I'll agree on that.
Like as you mentioned, like their only communication with the community is if you comment something. Well, if you comment something positive in their comment section, they're gonna reply with you with a little yellow heart. If you reply something negatively, they're gonna try to throw some shade at you. Like
I don't know if that
you can't do it both ways.
I don't know if AMG's really because they don't participate on the boards themselves, like they have their own channel.
Yeah,
I would say that on their Twitter, I do say like they're very supportive. I would say of the hobby and Legion building elements. So not so much the nuances. I don't think that they're necessarily catering to all the highly competitive players right now or competitive play. Like that's my honest opinion. But painting, people doing cool things with the hobby, they do that. That is on their Twitter.
Yeah.
They are sharing, responding. I see that.
It's 90% of their streams.
Right, and I do think that they actually do, and not necessarily our channel or any channel more than others, but I do think that they find value in us doing stuff like this. We are actually helping the game, whether we're necessarily loving every decision or move, because we're playing it, we're expressing our opinions about the game, we're talking about it, so keeping it fresh. We're showing off their models, we're doing cool things with their models, and we buy their models, we give away their models. We are doing things to help the game. My wish for Legion moving forward is they need to reabsorb us community members, I think.
Yeah, and definitely reach out because, like, as you pointed out, you could talk to Alex. Alex was always at the forefront. Like, I've never met him, but I always heard every major convention, he's there engaging with the players, watching them play, asking them what they think, receiving that feedback and giving it and taking it 100% of like, okay, I'm listening. I understand you enjoy this game. I'm glad you enjoy this game. I want to help it grow some more. He was always there, but now I'm going to get a random notification that AMG is streaming at 10 o'clock Central Time, dropping a new game they've been working on, just randomly. Like,
I think that has largely to do with the size of the company and the hats. Everyone at AMG seems to wear a lot of hats. And to me, when Luke and Alex were at FFG, that's what they did. They had a sole focus, laser focus. I mean, I'm sure they did other things and they've talked about, but they moved from project to project. Sounds to me like AMG is maybe a person on a project, maybe some crossover between multiple people, But to do all the things, and I'm not making excuses because you still have to do all the things, and you could hire more people, or maybe they can't, or maybe they aren't in that position right now. But I think if you continue to absorb games and make new games, the natural progression, you're going to have more people, because if you're not going to have more people and you're going to do more things, it's going to be stretched longer and longer and longer. And we've seen this right with the website release, the updates. They're not moving necessarily as fast as we would want them, but of course we wouldn't be happy if we didn't get an article every 6 hours. But we'll set our standards at a reasonable pace. They are doing more things, but we have to kind of almost be careful what we wish for. We asked for more, and now we're kind of complaining that we got too many small ones. I think we want fine-tuning. Frequency is good. Complexity, it doesn't have to be overly complex, but maybe completeness would be the word I would use.
Yeah, which, I mean, I think one thing we've overlooked is they told us when we're getting stuff, which I think is a huge step for them to actually go out and do that. And it might have been uncomfortable of like, we're telling people when they're getting stuff, but all the time everyone's like, today's the day. And in one of my other Discord channels, I have an individual who will timestamp everything of like, this is when they're going to drop things. Nope, they didn't do it. Well, this is the next window, and mapping it out. So I think that's one positive. They still have a lot to go. Like, they right now only have, I think, one Facebook group that they actually, you could say, own. Which, again, there's nothing stopping them from creating their own Discord or their own Facebook group.
I mean, they
nothing
have
at all.
Mass Games Facebook page.
No, like for Shatterpoint, like they have a Shatterpoint group that they control. And they're, again, I don't know what's stopping them from doing one for Legion or X-Wing, having their own if they feel like they can't communicate in the channels that have been created by individuals not affiliated.
I just think, I don't know, what's the point? There's a Facebook group with like 27,000 people in it that's established that people are all talking Legion anyway. Like, I don't think ultimate control over every opinion and what's on there is going to make or break the game. In fact, sometimes that negative opinion that stirs up conversation and is actually somewhat helpful to your game. So we don't love everything. I'm not going to ever come on here and tell you everything that everybody's doing is awesome and the best, or a unit that comes out. If I don't like it, you're going to hear it. If I think it could be good, great. Most of those are going to be tethered by experience, not necessarily all hot takes, but those are all healthy conversations, as long as you're not being overly obtuse or abrasive to what's going on there. Some of the stuff on there is ridiculous, and mostly I just tune out of any conversation where two people then start attacking each other about something non-linked to the original question. Like, hey, does anyone know where I can get a silhouette? And then somebody suddenly is telling somebody how terrible of an individual they are for even asking or suggesting something, and that is never going to be beneficial. No. And I think AMG doesn't want to be associated with those types of conversations. You don't want to have your page, having all that. And of course, I moderate a couple pages, and it's enough work just trying to keep junk off there as is. I don't think they want to either A, have that responsibility, or two, have the manpower or individual power to do that.
Yeah, which, I mean, you pointing out having these discussions is nice.
To that. It doesn't make sense to dedicate the resources to that when the community's already taken care of it.
Yeah. We're trying
I mean, we can go into...
You're welcome, community. Ryan is not posted to any boards in the last hour and 59 minutes because he's been here under our watchful eye.
Which I mean, I'd like to just, Shawn, you point out, like, having that discussion. I think, like, the reason why I'm here all the time is because you actually allow it. And we can get into this discussion of my preference in groups or how you should moderate a group, but I think it is healthy to have these discussions like this, to where you have the most radical takes, such as above me, spewing all his radical takes up there, to where you have the most mellow, calm takes ever coming from me. So it's... I think it's very healthy to have that, to where people are understanding, like, okay, I get where you're coming from, but also the other important thing is you play the game differently. Like, Pally has been running the same list for, 3 years now?
No, not quite. January of 21.
Okay,
the
so
list was
almost.
conceptualized and born when the specialist for clones dropped.
Yeah,
it's
and he
essentially
hasn't
been the
changed.
same.
I haven't changed in my activations. You haven't changed in your heavies, whatever those are, and still, for some reason, Justice is shying away from it. But he was always running Obi. Like, people can play the game differently. It's still Legion, but everyone's got a different opinion on it, which again makes for a healthy game.
Justice is specializing in receiving abuse from heavies. We're currently in the conditioning program.
Oh God, just never double bus again, please. Just the nightmares keep me up.
Wait, hold on. Did Shawn put you through the double bus ringer?
Not only did he put me through it, someone else in my pod also double bust me. So I just got crushed by Shadow Collective back to back. It hurt.
Yeah.
Oh, that is a learning you won't ever forget.
We're growing the community from the inside out here. Yep. No, so we'll end off there, which is, again, a good, robust conversation. Donnie's pointing out that he likes the group because we have good conversations. We can have great conversations that don't all end with an agreement of any one opinion at all. I'm perfectly fine with that. I give Ryan a hard time all the time, but I was watching chat a lot. There's a lot of people who agree with one or more elements of what he says, and likely the equal number of people who would disagree with one or more of the things that I say, which is perfectly fine. That is the beauty of an opinion. At the end of the day, we're talking about a game that we like. We'll play likely the game in whatever form it comes out. We always have the ability to stop at any one point in the rules and say, this is the Legion that I'm playing, and I'm not absorbing or adopting any of the things henceforth. That happens in a lot of games. People revert back to versions they like or rules that they like. I say, no matter what, the day that Legion stops getting a new rule set, we have more than enough fantastic models that we could continue to play some version of the game that we like. The beauty is we're not at that stage. We have things coming out, Dark Troopers and Moff Gideon and Wookiee, and Ewoks and Ahsoka, and there's things on the horizon. While they may not all excite you, I am generally excited for the next version of the rules, but at the full version. So I'm at this impasse of I hear all the things that are changing. I need to take it in small incremental steps. I think there's some things that I hear I don't love the fact that I won't be able to kill more models than I can see. I know that's a thing right now, but my choice of being able to take models makes that almost exploitative as it's currently written. However, there may be one line that comes out that changes my entire perspective and the mechanics of that function, which on the 16th of January, as Ryan pointed out, might make this conversation irrelevant. My concern now may not exist on the 16th of January. It may actually be way more heightened than it is right now, or maybe it's just calm. So until January 16th, we'll let Ryan be at both ends of the spectrum. We'll all try to remain within Ryan, boundaries. And I think if we're there, we're safe. And we have him on either end of the extremes, protecting us with those opinions. So. Pally's
it's okay. I will
rendition of Blair Witch Project at this point.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm glad that I just got appointed to build the wall, I guess we'll call it. So I'll try to find someone to pay for it.
Fantastic, Justice. Pally, any final thoughts before we head out here?
When did Ryan become the arbiter of normalcy?
I'm not sure.
Well, you can thank AMG for that.
Yeah, I think there was a Ryan's Rule update at some point that dropped late in the evening. So
yeah, that's probably next Wednesday when they kill the bidding war, and we're now rolling dice like MCP and this new game that I will cease to mention from now on.
Fantastic. That was the hot take
Maybe-
bookend I was looking for this episode.
I'll say maybe to close this out real quick, without opinions, Ryan.
Mm-hmm.
What do we think the next two articles might cover? My bet is turn zero and I don't know, maybe list
Height.
building.
I think it's going to be a
think it's
list
gonna be
building restriction of some kind, whether it's act or whether it's configuration or some change fundamentally to the structure of one or more lists. That's my prediction.
I would say, like, you bring up
But
turn
that's
zero.
probably one article. What about the other?
The other article, I think that there may be some changes to Battle Deck current cards, or maybe the introduction of something new.
Interesting. A lot of people have brought up turn zero, but that's like massive. Like, it is the same size in my point of view as the actual game turns 1 through 6. So when you say turn zero, like if you say turn zero, I'm thinking it is turn -1 is what I would call it. Of we're rolling off to see who gets table size. I honestly think they're going to kill bidding. We can thank a few competitive players for doing that. I honestly think it could be that because we've seen the bidding war start from the game with old KP to now Blizzard Force abusing it. So I could see it being that. I think the other article, I don't think the other article is going to be anything with elevation, just purely because I feel like they saw a 1-point upgrade and they're like, we can't have this. This is weird. It feels weird. There's some maniac in Iowa running a ton of these things. But I do think the second article, I mean, at this point, it could be anything. I don't think it's going to be list building restrictions. Hence, yesterday's article saying they want tons of options for people to build lists. They're also announcing a new battle force that is soon to be the top list here pretty soon. So it honestly, Wednesday could hopefully be a Gideon preview with a new rules change in there. That's honestly what I think. I think the only thing that honestly needs to be changed is turn zero. With
So
bidding,
you think
and I
turn
think
zero
that's
is
what
going to
it
get
is.
split between two articles?
No, because I think the only thing is bidding. I don't think it's going to hammer down list building. I think it's going to be, we're going to roll red attack dice. And whoever has the most crits gets to decide red or blue. And then you're just going to go down the list just like MCP has. It'll just go crits, surges, hits.
Just pointing out there's the same number of crits on all color dice, but just...
There is, but there's more hits on a red die. And you got that tiebreaker. So it's, I pick up 5 red attack die, roll it. Whoever has the most crits, guess what? Now you're deciding who that is. Oh, both players don't have crits or the same number. Let's go to surges. Okay, now let's just count total number of hits.
I don't know if they're going to kill bidding.
No, I don't think so. I think it's going to be something small, like an elevation change, and I think that's kind of why they touched grappling hooks.
I honestly think it's
some weird elevation change no one was expecting.
I wouldn't be super disappointed if we got a number of rules that made height, elevation, and interactivity with multi-tiered terrain elements actually more impactful in the game. Like distinct advantages from being at height or things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Where
Make me happy I run jetpack.
Right, maybe when you're at height, the whole like idea of like, oh, your base is obscured actually doesn't that doesn't impact that. If you're higher than, like if you're at a different plane or elevation, maybe, or let's say one height higher, so not necessarily on a gentle rise or something like that, but a building peering down, that little obscured base at the bottom doesn't matter anymore. Something like that.
If I would say if you're like one silhouette higher, you just get sharpshooter 1.
I don't know about sharpshooter. What about just reducing the cover by like you're saying not the keyword but the equivalent thereof, right?
Well, kind of, right? Like if you're on elevation No, I could see it just imparting the keyword. If your unit leader is higher than your target, you just get sharpshooter 1. It would stack with
HRU
sharpshooter up to a
2.
maximum of 2. That way it's not breaking anything, but there's an actual advantage to getting on top of things. You get cover, and you get to hit a little harder.
I would also like
The
to point out
downside,
Pally's
it
just
takes
saying
you a
this
bit to
because he
get up.
slaps... Like, Pally, the only reason why you're saying this is because you slap jetpacks on literally every unit in your army, so you want this to happen.
Like 1 unit, and I have 0 copies of the grappling hooks.
Can't
Two-
afford
two-
them
two
anymore
unit,
at 2 points.
and I
You
have
can't
zero
afford
copies of
grappling
grappling
hooks anymore.
Oh, yeah, you can because it's 1 point. Yeah. I think
Hey,
anything's
my
up in
list
the
went
air.
down by 3 points. I can fit 1.5 grappling hooks.
1.5. How do you fit half a... I'm not going to get into it. But yeah, Kendall's
I
right.
get
He's
out the
like...
scissors.
Kendall's hoping it's elevation because he knows if it is an elevation change, I'm just going to lose my mind. I'm going to lose my mind, and I'm going to get a message on a Monday afternoon as I'm meeting with my mentor teacher for coffee of told you so to where I have to respond.
Fantastic. Okay, boys. Well, I'm going to leave you there. Good conversation. Thanks again to all those folks coming through tonight. Stan coming through with the double match on the donations. Nick Smith earlier in the night. Donnie Collins a little later on. You guys are helping us out big time. Like I said, I'll update this. We're moving progressively closer, which is fantastic. We crested over the 1/3 mark, which is fantastic. Do not forget that we have the massive December 30th giveaway show. Get everyone that you know who's playing Legion. The models will still be relevant, even though the rules may change. Come out, win some free stuff just for being there. Painted models, coming out of 48th Ronin Painting Studio, fantastic. Imperial terrain, if you want to print those STLs, and or Legion terrain, if you want to get either physical prints, STLs, painted or unpainted, you have the options there. I think Legion terrain will still be relevant, so get some if you don't have them, get more if you need more, or get different stuff if you want different things. Back to Basics is going to be hooking us up with a number of items, cool card sleeves, etc., brush sets. I have some things coming in from the studio, including some custom swag, which is great. Bryant coming out of Australia with 2 battle forces, which is ridiculously fantastic. Pally coming in with the bonus commanders in addition to a battle force, myself with a battle force, Dragon's Den with a battle force, and then last but not least, we got the Dice Time alt arts. Fantastic. Yes, I will, Ronan. I see that comment. I will absolutely send that to you. So thanks a lot, guys, both Pally, Ryan, Justice, Andrew, Jace, all coming in tonight, which is fantastic. Much appreciated, guys. Oh, somehow Ryan got to occupy Jace's spot. That was completely unintentional, but I'll leave him there because he is. We'll catch you guys on Friday, I guess tomorrow. Don't forget, if you're in the league, tell us all about your games. Get your games in. Ryan, play some games so that the next time you come on Roundtable, I can have you tell us all about that amazing upset victory that you made.
Well, if I can do a quick plug, Jake and I actually need someone to stream our game next Wednesday.
Okay.
So reach out to me or him if you're interested in doing that. If there's a way, I brought it up to him, still waiting on him to reply back of seeing if both of us can be mic'd up and everyone listening to our conversations.
You guys totally can. You guys can just do, so put it in the streamer channel. You just leave your channel open so that everyone can join in. We'll mute everyone else's in there, and we'll just listen to you guys go. But that's
sweet.
That's the option that we can hear your games. We can't give our insights, but we can certainly listen along with you. So, and that happens a lot, guys. So if you want to come over to our Discord just to hang out and watch games, listen to people chat about games, we often have a game going on. Usually 3 games running simultaneously last night. So yeah. I know that we're not the biggest Discord out there in the world, but we have a very active one and a good community. It's just basically an extension of what you see here. Don't let Ryan represent everyone that's in there. In fact, he's less than 0.5%, but he's the loudest 0.5% we have. That's certainly true. So
it's only because my meme it's my meme and GIF game. That's why.
That's right. Yeah. What's that, Pally? Sorry.
Ryan, did you get your ticket for Colorado yet?
To be determined. To be determined.
I think he's going to use the pass.
I'm not making any.
Sold out?
Attend that event.
I'm not announcing anything yet. I'm still having to talk to my agent, who's Justice, before we make an official announcement. Since every press release goes through him, since he's the one that got me into playing in the league. So I'm just gonna direct all questions to him.
I'll put it out there now, just because it seems like the time. Ryan's gonna be at Rocky Mountain Open, so if you want to come slap him, just
I'll be signing autographs as well, taking pictures. You know,
Come for the Legion, stay for the sleepovers. All right, guys, we'll see you on
exactly.
later.
See ya.
Total.